What's up, boys? Welcome back to this segment on the second quarter. We're going over our NFL draft big board. I'm Jacob Eichenlob. This is Dalton Carty. And we're just doing our top 10 prospects in the draft. This is not a mock draft or how we think the draft's going to go.
Yep, these are just the top 10 players of this year's football, we believe.
In our opinions.
In our opinions, yes.
Yeah. So you want to start with 10? Or
yeah, we'll start with 10 and work our way up. So my number 10 is Chris Olave from Ohio State. Great wide receiver. I think that he's a top 10 wide receiver. Or I think he's a top 2 wide receiver, top 10 player. I don't think he's going to go in the top 10 by no means. Like we said, this is just our top 10 players of NCAA, the big board. Alongside Garrett Wilson and Jackson Smith and Jigba, he put up great numbers. So I have Olave at number 10.
Number 10, I got Ikem Ekwonu. He's, in my opinion, probably the best run-blocking lineman in the class this year. He's played a couple different positions on the O-line. He's just great at blocking the run. If he could improve his pass blocking, he would definitely be way higher for me.
Number 9, I have the other Ohio State wide receiver, Garrett Wilson. Again, put up phenomenal numbers with other weapons around him. C.J. Stroud made him look really good as a freshman. Excuse me. I think Garrett Wilson will go in the top 10 this year. I mean, it'd be hard not to take him in the top 10 because he's just such a versatile player, such a great weapon. He's got height, reach. He may not be as big as other wide receivers, as in bulky, but he's got speed, he's got hands. I mean, I think he's going to be great in the NFL.
At number 9, I actually have DBhmad Gardner. Out of Cincinnati. He did not allow a single touchdown his whole college career. This year he was a little overshadowed by Kobe Bryant, not the one you were thinking of, I promise, but because Kobe had multiple interceptions on the year and was in the top 5, maybe even won best cornerback in college football, but I got DBhmad Gardner at number 9.
So number 8, I have George Karlaftis, defensive end at Purdue. He's a great pass rusher. I think he's going to do very well. Like, he was in a Big Ten school, he was not in a large Big Ten school. He's in one of the little overshadowed ones. Still put up phenomenal numbers. He can really get to the quarterback and work through double teams. I think he's really good.
Number 8, I got Tyler Linderbaum. Probably one of the best college centers I've ever seen personally, and he just has poise, and I feel like he's very much going to be good in the NFL. Like, he has the potential to be very good there. And I have him at number 8. I feel like he could be higher. It could not even be on the board in some people's opinions, but I have him at number 8.
I personally don't have him on the board. He's one of my honorable mentions. I think Tyler Linderbaum is probably one of the most NFL-ready offensive linemen in this draft. So moving on to my number 7, I have Matt Corral, the quarterback out of Ole Miss. It's a very weak draft class this year. I think it's actually a weak free agency, weak quarterbacks all around. So if your team is in need of a quarterback, you might want to hold out for another year and just tank. But I think Matt Corral is probably the best quarterback in this draft. I think he's the 7th best player here. Put up good numbers at Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin. If he gets into a system just like Ole Miss, I think he'll do really well.
See, I don't have Matt Corral on my board personally. In my opinion, the best quarterback in the class, based on how the NFL is played today, is Malik Willis out of Liberty. But my number 7 is Charles Cross, an O-lineman out of Mississippi State. He's very flexible, played multiple positions, and I think he could be good at any position on the O-line in the NFL with the right development.
Number 6, I have DBhmad Gardner, the DB out of Cincinnati, like you were saying. His entire NCAA career did not give up a touchdown. May not have been as prolific getting interceptions, but he definitely broke up passes, definitely disturbed the quarterback, and definitely can play a lot of good coverages. So I have DBhmad Gardner at number 6.
Yeah, and the thing about being a corner like that, it's kind of like a Jalen Ramsey. You're a lockdown. You don't get a lot of picks. You don't really get thrown at because everyone knows how good you are.
Yeah, so your stats are a little deflated.
You don't really have good stats because everyone knows you're good. They don't want to throw the ball at you unless you get burnt, which is a very rare occasion. In DBhmad Gardner's case, almost never happened because he never gave up a touchdown. But at number 6, I have George Karlaftis. He is the 3rd best edge rusher in this class. He has the potential to be great in the NFL. Depending on the team he goes to, I think he'd thrive better in a 4-3 system. So I have him at number 6, and we're going to get into the top 5. Who you got 5?
I have Evan Neal, the offensive tackle out of Alabama. Huge man, absolutely massive. He's very good at protecting. He is probably the most NFL-ready offensive lineman. Tyler Linderbaum is one of the most NFL-ready. Evan Neal is the most NFL-ready, running under Nick Saban for his entire college career. I believe he's a redshirted junior, if I'm not mistaken. He's very good, very big, but he does not move like a big man. You can play him at the left or right tackle. I think he's going to go within the top 5 picks of this draft.
Number 5, I got Kyle Hamilton, the safety out of Notre Dame. He's really a safety in a linebacker's body. He has 8 career picks and 16 career pass breakups. I feel like you could have him higher, but just in my opinion, he doesn't really have great stats. because being a safety, it's kind of hard to get those stats. But he's definitely a top 5 player in this class, and he could really thrive in the NFL. Maybe even as in a sub linebacker position.
Moving on to number 4, I have Derek Stingley Jr., the DB out of LSU. Really not a whole lot of flaws in this man's game. He can play press coverage, do man-to-man. He can play zone. He thrives a little bit better in a man-to-man position than he does in a zone. Just coming out of LSU under Ed Ogeron's helm. Really good defensive coordinator there as well. I think he needs to be in a system that really does a lot of man-to-man and a lot of press coverage instead of zone. So he's number 4 on my big board.
Yeah, I also have Stingley at 4. In my opinion, he's the most NFL-ready corner, and I'm just mainly base my list off NFL readiness. But I do think in the future, if developed right, Andrew Booth Jr. out of Clemson could be a better corner than Stingley. But Stingley currently is a great corner and looks very good heading into the NFL, and I feel like he could thrive right away in the right system.
Number 3, I have Aiden Hutchinson, edge out of Michigan. He's probably more NFL ready than Kayvon Thibodeau, with him being a senior and Thibodeau being a junior. I think Thibodeau has a little bit more potential than he does, even though Hutchinson is more NFL ready. He's a lot bigger. Well, not really bigger than Thibodeau. He's a lot taller, a lot more defined. He's a little bit faster than Thibodeau as well. Coming out of Michigan, under Jim Harbaugh's command, I have him at 3.
At 3, I actually have Kayvon Thibodeau. He's just a freak athlete. He was a very good pass rusher when he came in his freshman year, and he just increasingly got better. I do feel like he'll probably be a top 2 or 3 pick this year, but in my big board, I got him at 3.
At number 2, speaking of Kayvon Thibodeau, that's where he's at out of Oregon, the defensive end junior. Really big guy, moves fast for a big guy. Had a lot of sacks this year, had a lot of tackles this year for being an edge guy. Can't really play the linebacker position in terms of pass coverage. He's more of a rusher, but I think he probably has the highest ceiling out of this draft. That's why he's above Aiden Hutchinson, is just because I think he has a lot more potential than Aiden Hutchinson does, and he's a little bit younger than him too as well. So
I have Aiden Hutchinson at number 2. Just based on how he looked at U of M, he's clearly a great leader, and he gets guys to rally behind him really well. I feel like being a great player and have a lot of hype around his name was one reason, but another reason why he got invited to the Heisman ceremony and finished as the runner-up is because of how his team rallied around him. And obviously, he's just a great leader, and he's capable of disrupting an entire offense in the right system.
Yeah, Aiden Hutchinson did have a huge team impact going into the later games. I mean, beating Ohio State and then making it into the college football playoffs.
Clobbering Iowa in the Big Ten title game.
Yep.
And who you got at number 1?
Number 1, I have Kyle Hamilton, the safety out of Notre Dame. There really is no flaws in his game. He's the best prospect I think I've ever seen. With Kyle Pitts, you can make the argument that he's not good at blocking. With Kyle Hamilton, there's nothing this man can't do. He's great in the rush defense. He can play zone. He can play man-to-man. He can do press coverage. He's a big hitter. He can do the linebacker position. I mean, this man is a universal player. He's kind of like Isaiah Simmons, but I think a lot better. Kyle Hamilton should go top 4 in this NFL draft. I have him at number 1 on my big board just because there's no flaws in his game that I can find.
At number 1, I actually have Evan Neal, offensive tackle out of Alabama. He's 6'7", 350 pounds, and is very quick and light on his feet. He should be a top 5 pick. He's capable of playing multiple O-line positions like every other O-lineman in this draft class on my big board. I just do think he's probably the most NFL ready and will be one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL for years to come if developed properly.
Yeah, I feel like any of our top 5, you could probably switch around between 1 and 5. They're very close together. I just have Hamilton number 1 because I don't see any flaws with him. Yeah. I think he is going to be the best player out of this draft class by a mile. Derwin James looks a lot like Derwin James, how he plays.
See, in my opinion, someone like Hutchinson or Thibodeau is going to be the best in this class, but I have Evan Neal as the best right now.
Yeah.
Especially an offensive line's position that also often gets overlooked, but I do think he's going to be the best player in this draft for a couple of years until Hutchinson or Thibodeau or Stingley or someone like that blossoms into their full potential.
So that's going to conclude our NFL Draft Big Board. Tune into our final episode where we're going to be talking about the NCAA transfers, how we think they're going to do in the new systems, and how their teams might do.
Yep. So we'll be back.
See you guys then.